Welcome to Scatterbrained, a weekly subpod of mind controllers. I'm your host, Brandon Craw, and joined by my co-host,
Joe Moreno.
And today, we're going to be talking about what video games and maybe some other media we've been enjoying this week. So, Joe, I talked to you earlier. Well, I texted you earlier. Shit, it wasn't even earlier today. I guess that was last night, yesterday. Anyways, I think you said you didn't have too many games that you played new this week. I played like some... it might have been like 4 indie games or so, this past week.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't complete them. You already know about one of them, but I was going to dive into some of the other ones. But yeah, I guess I'm curious to see what tell me about Ashen. Tell me about your weekend. Tell me how you're doing, man. Yeah, I don't know. Let's catch up.
Yeah, let's do it. So we finally beat Ashen. I was playing this co-op with my brother, right? We hit a wall at the final boss because this boss was like a 2-phase boss. You take them out the first phase, right? Then they have another phase, which is a brand new life bar, right? But this boss gets way more aggressive, and like they have like this combo move that just destroys you, right? And Ashen, again, you can't level up. You can get stat boosts like health and stamina by doing quests. But by the end of the game, I don't think we had any quests left. So we were kind of stumped. So we had to, we did it like 4 or 5 times. You have to do this boss run into a cave where you have these enemies that pin you down and do so much damage, right? And you don't want to use your resources because it's like the Estus flask, right? You only have a limited amount of use. So you have to get through the cave you're going to take damage. There's no way. Because we're just running through. We're not even fighting things. Because we're like, it takes too long. We just want to hit the boss and beat it, right? Did like 4 or 5 tries, and we were just defeated. We were like, fuck this game. This shit is bullshit. This is a 5 out of 10 game. Why did we even play this, right? We were just like pissed. Went to sleep pissed, right? Like, I was like, I never want to play this game again, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next day, after the rage subsides, we hit up like I think Game Facts or something, or like, how do you deal with the final boss? So there's like these special potions you can use that boost your damage resistance. There's like this little talisman you can equip that boosts like damage resistance as well. And so we just went through the game. I think the ashes or the souls are called Scorchio or something like that. Stocked up on those, stocked up on a bunch of items to make these potions that, up your damage resistance. Just tried to upgrade our weapons all the way as well. Kind of like prepping for the final boss, And we went back in like around 9 p.m. the next day or something. And I was like, okay, let's do this, right? Took us a couple tries to get through the cave, get back to the boss. And yeah, first time we just beat it. Those potions did it because our damage resistance was so high that like we would alternate. Like if you need a heal, just run and go heal and then come back and then I'll heal. Right. So we were just like switching off and on. It made the boss a cakewalk.
Wow.
Right. And that system is there. That potion system is there. So we were supposed to use it. I think we were just like, we're kind of over the game. We don't want to play with the game. Essentially you don't want to play how the game was made or whatever. Right. You just want to be done.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that. We followed like this build and everything, and it was super easy. And after my brother was like, hey, can we do the DLC? I'm like, not today. I don't want to deal with that right now. Because who knows what's in the DLC? And the DLC is like 2 hours long. So I was like, maybe next weekend. Maybe I have some time, and we'll deal with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, this Ashen, honestly, after the rage and everything, I think it's still like a 8 out of 10 game. It wasn't bad. It was fun to do co-op. I don't know how this would feel single player because it feels kind of weird. Like the movement's weird. It feels like the enemies have like a better dodge and like iframes than you do.
Oh, really?
Right. So you'll swing and then they'll dodge and you don't hit them and then you're out of stamina. The stamina system again. I don't think we were playing optimally. I think we were playing with like heavier armor. But when you're like at a game, you're like you don't want to change anything. You're like no, this has worked before. I can make this work, right? So we're just being stubborn.
No, I feel that.
And we didn't want to change anything until the final boss.
Yeah.
But again, I had a good time with it. Might do that DLC. Now that we know that damage resistant potion is a thing, I think the DLC shouldn't be too bad.
Oh, okay. Was the damage or potions in general? Do you like craft them or do you have to pick them up or something?
You do craft them. You craft them. There's some items you can buy from the merchants. You need like 1 healing item and 2. I think it's called fire kelp. You mix them together, and I mean, it just makes the potion for you, right? And the way this potion worked is, I think it was like it gave you damage resistance. I'm not sure how much of the percentage, but only in the dark, meaning that because there's like a lantern type thing, like in Bloodborne or any other From Software game.
Right.
If you use the lantern, that buff does not. That buff is gone. You don't benefit from the potion.
Okay.
So the fact that the final boss was in like a dark area, you could still see without a lantern. That really was a saving grace. So we'll see how the DLC goes. Hopefully it goes well.
Yeah.
I'll report to you whenever we do that.
Yeah.
When we get to it.
I'm curious as well, especially for this like difficulty curve that kind of hit you at the final boss, because it sounds like the game wasn't too challenging up until right now, or up until that last boss. Yeah, and then it required you to like readjust your strategy, and I totally sympathize with that, like especially with like Elden Ring or something, for example, where you have that one build you're going through the whole game with, and of course like if you did a different build, maybe a magic or like a more strength based build, like that would be better for facing that boss, but you're like, no, I'm too stubborn, I gotta just keep on using the same items or the same weapon or whatever. So yeah, I'm the same way. I would just stick with what I knew works, and it'd take a lot to, I don't know, rethink my strategy and redistribute the stats or respec or something like that.
Right, and this wasn't too much of a pain because all we really had to do was, change some things up. No stats or anything changed,
That's good.
But still, it's just like we made it this far. We've beaten the bosses before, like bosses prior, right? I think the most we ever like died at a boss before this was maybe twice. So it wasn't like,
oh wow,
yeah, it wasn't like too difficult. But then this final boss had 2 phases, and it was a lot to deal with, especially with like we were just coasting through the game.
Yeah,
the way that it worked, it's like you fight an enemy, right? But there's 2 of you, so you could just like get them in the corner and Street Fighter 6 them in the corner until they die. so
you're pretty good at that. Yeah.
So with this final boss fighting back, we're like, yo, what the hell is happening? We even got to the point where like, if this last attempt does not work, let's just say we beat the game, no one else has to win, right? We were at that point.
Well,
it was like, no, but we actually beat it. We were just frustrated with the game at the end.
Okay. But, okay. You sure you're not lying to us right now?
No, we did beat it. We did. Beat it. Yeah.
Okay.
And then like,
I need to see some screenshots of the achievement proof or something.
Well, it's on Switch, so I can show you. I guess the life.
I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
But after you unlock this mode where you can play the game again with like less health and like less damage, and I'm like output, and I'm like,
okay,
no, thank you, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's just a purposely hard mode or something like that. After, okay, yeah, I've never been a fan of unlocking harder modes of games as like a reward. I don't know. Maybe that's some people's thing, but it's never been my thing to make the game harder as like a fun after you beat the game bonus type thing. But nice. Well, are you going to give Flintlock a try eventually?
Probably sometime whenever it comes to, I don't know if it's on PlayStation or anything, if it's coming to PlayStation.
Oh, good call. I know it's on Xbox because it's on Game Pass, but yeah, I don't know if it's on PlayStation.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I got so much to play right now. Like Zenless Zone Zero still taking up my time. Like I mentioned, I hit the story mode. Got to the end of the story mode for now. I've just been kind of grinding and building up characters. I think I'm at 36 hours on this thing. I'm like, I should have been playing Stellar Blade or Dragon's Dogma 2 instead, but instead I decided to play this gacha game again.
No.
They got me.
When it comes with video games, there is no should. You could just go ahead and enjoy whatever game that you want to enjoy right now. Don't feel pressure to play either of those games. I know you spent you definitely spent more money on those other games than you did Zenless Zone Zero.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
I'll get to that eventually. And so far, with Zenless, it's fun. It's like, action combat. It's not too difficult. You have like a parry mechanic as well, which is really flashy, really cool. I'm just having a good time.
It's always fun.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's cool. Like I've been saying, I want to jump into it. It might happen this week. It might happen next week, but there's still not too many games coming out that I'm like crazy about right now. So it's a nice time to try some free game like that, some free gacha game. Were you playing anything else, I guess, other than Ashen and then Zenless Zone Zero?
A couple,
Street Fighter?
yeah, more fighting games. Like I mentioned this past week, we were playing Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, and then just some Fall Guys here and there still. Since my siblings are
Nice.
still
So
out of
kind of your
school,
usual.
yeah. So we'll play some
Yeah.
Fall Guys here and there. They have like a
Nice. Yeah,
fourth
that's kind of cool.
anniversary party mode, which is really grindy because the way that it works is like each match only eliminates maybe 1 to 3 people, but you're doing like multiple, like I guess stages. Like I think yesterday we did like 8 or 9 total stages just to get the finals. That's a lot because usually Fall Guys
Oh,
is like
wow.
4 or 5 stages until finals.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a little
So is
weird.
it's like less punishing then for some reason? Is there a bigger pool of people you're
No,
competing
it's actually
against
30
even?
people, and there's like special things you can unlock, right? Like special pants if you want special pants. I guess go for
Yeah.
it. But it's very. I think what makes it a little bit more grindier is that if I lose, I have to wait till my siblings lose so that we can queue up again and play another game, like play another round of it,
Oh.
right? That's what makes it a little
Yeah.
like it takes longer essentially. But other than that, I mean, it's Fall Guys. You're there to have a
Yeah.
good time, and this is running on Switch, so it's not running well. So you still get like frame dips
rough.
and like glitches, and yeah, but it's free and everyone has a Switch in the house.
Damn, did you see that it's 1.1 million units away from beating the PS2
I saw
for the
that.
all-time sold?
Yeah.
That is insane. I feel like they might hit that between now and whenever the Switch 2 comes out, rumored next year in the spring, but we'll see. That'll be crazy. I mean, I feel like that makes sense because it feels like everybody has a Switch, even people who wouldn't even like initially classify themselves as gamers would have a Switch. So anyways, that's cool for them. We love Nintendo. We stand Nintendo Switch here,
Yes,
even
man.
if it is getting a little rusty. Nice. Yeah. Are you ready to hear me ramble about indie games for like the next 30 minutes?
Go for it. I think there was one you told me about, right? Was what was that one that you told me about?
Kunitsu-Gami or
No.
Venba,
Not Venba.
Flock,
I think it was. Let me look it up.
Undertale.
Dungeons of Hinterberg.
Oh,
I watched a review about it, and it seemed pretty interesting, but it's only on Game Pass
unfortunately,
right
I did not play it
Okay.
yet.
Okay.
It is.
Because I was like,
It was.
what is this
Yeah.
about?
Go ahead.
You know, because you mentioned it, and I was like,
Mhm.
one of these indie games. What is the indie guy over here talking about? What is he yapping about? Let me check it out. It looked cool. It's just on Xbox and Steam.
I low-key should just let you borrow my Series X because my sister just returned it to me. She was borrowing it, and I, like I've said before, pretty much every game I could play on there, I could just play on my PC. So, and I think because I have Game Pass, I think since it's a separate console, it would like allow us both to like play whenever. So, yeah. Well, we'll look into that during our next hangout.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I do want to check out Dungeons of Hinterberg. I've heard it was like just a exploration action adventure game that had some sort of like real world basis. I don't think I'm remembering this correctly, but I vaguely remember someone say that the main character's like either works for a law firm or was a lawyer and then wanted to like leave that life and then just go out and explore. I could be conflating that with a different indie game.
No, I think you're right. I think he's like a post grad student, like he just in pre-law or something like that.
Oh,
yeah, I just watched a review like
okay.
before I had a client. I was like, you know what? During my lunch break. So that sounds pretty familiar.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe I am kind of close on the mark there, but yeah, it seemed like another cute, charming indie game with the cel shaded graphics that I kind of enjoy. I don't know. I always really like that cel shaded style. I feel like Neon White. What was the game that from the studio that unfortunately closed? That was like a rhythm based game, music based game. You liked it a lot. Came out last year, and it was
Hi-Fi Rush.
Hi-Fi Rush. Thank you. Yeah. I like that art style. Is all I was gonna say about it. But anyways, yeah. So the games that I did play though are the ones that I just rattled off to you. But I'm gonna go ahead and like I'll tell you about the one I mentioned first, just because it was shorter and I beat it. Venba. So I think this game came out last year.
Mm-hmm.
It's developed by Visay Games, and I was trying to poke around their website, and I think that was the only game I saw on there. So that might be the only game they've developed so far. And I don't know how much you know about it, but for anyone listening who doesn't know too much, it's like a very narrative based game. There isn't really much to do in terms of like interacting with the game other than like select certain dialogue options, and then the basis behind the game is cooking. So then you like have to pour certain ingredients into certain things just by like clicking and dragging. And the game is really about the kind of the struggle, maybe that like it's from a couple different viewpoints, from a mother, an immigrant mother who immigrated from India, and then it kind of shifts towards the end towards the from the son's viewpoint, the son of the immigrant mother who grew up in Canada. I believe they immigrated to in the 90s or so. Yeah, you start this game off as playing like this young, I would assume 20 something, maybe early 30 something mother named Venba. And you could tell right away that it establishes the game of like her showing her love through cooking and like being able to cook for people. And like, that's how she cares for them. And that's how she kind of like passes her traditions down, is through cooking, and maybe like the memories shared through cooking or the stories that she learned from maybe her mom or her grandma, and she wants to pass those down to her son. So it kind of flashes through the lifespan of the son thus far. So you see him when he was a baby or before they had him, and then it like cuts to when he's a baby, then cuts to when he's a toddler, and so on and so forth until he's an adult. And throughout each era that you're playing in, they touch on some sort of family matter that's happening. For example, the dad was struggling to find a job, can relate there, and the mom was kind of pressuring him to just take any job or stuff like that. Or a lot of the struggle, or a lot of like the narrative like conflict that happens, is between the mom and the dad. Usually it was just like this really touching story of this mom who she's trying to connect with her son Kavin, I believe Kavin. And they make it a point in the story to say how the kids will call him Kevin, and the parents don't really like that because it's like whitewashing his name in a way. And she just wants to like connect with her son. She's struggling to, because I don't think they speak English very well. And then their son, Kevin, doesn't really speak. Oh man, I'm blanking on the language right now. But yeah, they don't really speak their language. And it was just like this touching story that kind of reminded me of maybe something I've heard from my mom, because my mom was like the first or maybe second generation immigrant, like because her parents, my grandparents, moved here, and they, at least for my family, like my grandma would cook a lot, and my mom kind of like spent time with her and learned her recipes, and now I see my mom making those recipes here at home. And then maybe when I was younger didn't really appreciate it, but now that I'm older, I'm like trying to spend more time with her in the kitchen to learn the recipes and connect a bit more. So to see that in a video game, in this very short hour and a half narrative based video game, was pretty touching to see. And of course there's some sad moments, because spoiler alert for Venba, eventually towards the end you see that the dad is gone. He passes away because, actually, they don't say why. I'm not too sure why. But you can see that Venba is an older woman. The dad's gone. And Venba moved back to India, I think, once the dad died, because I'm not sure. It seemed like she might have been lonely. She might have felt more comfortable in India. So she just wanted to move back. And her son, once he's an adult, he became a writer, just like his father. His father was a poet and a writer who never got a chance to really shine in his art. And the son has like either pitched a successful Hollywood TV show, and there's like some sort of big Hollywood agent who keeps on hitting him up and like asking him to like make some changes to the script and really like take away from the true immigrant experience that he had growing up and make it a bit more TV friendly. And eventually he asks him like one too many things. It had something to do with like changing the type of food that the person is eating or something like that. And that kind of caused him to not snap, but that was the final straw. He was like, you know what, fuck this. I'm moving with my mom to India as well. And then he flies over to India, and then spent some time cooking with his mom, and it was just a heartwarming but tragic end to the story because his dad wasn't in the picture, and they were reminiscing about him. But yeah, overall, it does what I'm always looking for in an indie game, and it moves me. It touches me and pulls my emotional heartstrings.
Right.
And it was a short game. I think I played it like July 31st, and it was leaving Game Pass on August 1st. So I was just like, let me get this in real quick.
Get that speed run in, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And I'm glad I did, because low-key, it made me even more appreciative of like my mom's cooking now and wanting to spend more time with her to maybe make those memories, because I could tell that she also likes to connect through food. So highly recommend it if any of that sounded interesting to people. It was a very simple game, except there was like some complicated parts with the cooking aspects, because you're supposed to follow a recipe, but the recipe book is kind of worn out, and a lot of the ink is just like no longer there. So then you have to use some sort of logic puzzles by like reading the instructions that are there to figure out what is supposed to go in what order and ingredients wise, and then what to do. And then there's some like really complicated parts of it. Thankfully, there's a hint system, so I just like hit that hint thing real quick. But I was like pretty gung-ho about trying to figure it all out myself. And then I got to maybe the third or fourth cooking puzzle. I'm like, 10-15 minutes might have passed, and I cannot for the life of me figure out what the hell it wants me to do. So Let me just get this hint real quick. Yeah, and it was something stupid about like, you need to put the rest of the rice water back in the blender and reblend it after you sift it out. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I wasn't going to think of that. So I'm glad I took the hint right now. But yeah, I really recommend that game. I think that is probably all I have to say for Venba.
Okay.
This next game that I wanted to talk about, you already know more about it than I do. And that is Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess. Mm-hmm. I think Capcom developed and published this game. And it, I guess, is technically not an indie game, but it has a very indie game feel. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard people describe it as a PS2 game. Mm-hmm. It feels like a PlayStation 2 game. Mm-hmm. And I watched Jay Wong play through it one day, because my brother put it up on Twitch on the TV. And I, like, after clients, I would just come in, watch, like during lunch, watch. Right. I saw the gameplay and I was like, yeah, I don't know if this is for me.
Yeah.
I'd probably pick it up on sale for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you have to. I mean, this is another Game Pass game, so maybe okay. If you get my Xbox, you could you could try it out. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Kunitsu-Gami, Path of the Goddess is, I guess it's like you said, it is a tower defense game. I think technically it is a tower defense game because you have the goddess. I'm assuming maybe her name's Kunitsu. Oh no, she has a name. Let me see. I think I wrote it down, or maybe I didn't. I think I just wrote down the name of the enemies, which was the Seeth, which I thought was kind of cool. Oh, Yoshiro. Yeah, Yoshiro is the princess who you have to defend, and you have this like path that she must walk, and you have to cleanse the path just by holding down B, but it uses up this resource that you have to collect before the enemies start coming in during the night. And she has to get to the end of the path and like perform this ritual, but at the end of that path is like the gate of which all the demons are spawning out of. So then you have to kind of set up your troops at the front of that gate and fight your way, like just hold them back until the daytime, and then once daylight hits, then the goddess can keep on walking this cleansed path and performing this ritual in order to cleanse the area. And you unlock these villagers. They were attacked by the enemy, which is called the Seeth, like seething or like angry. I'm trying to figure out the symbolism there. I haven't gotten too deep into the story, so I'm not sure exactly what they're angry about. But yeah, they overtook these villages. Some of the villagers were like wrapped in this weird cocoon-like thing, and you have to break them out, and then you can assign them a role, and those roles will determine how they attack during the nighttime phase when the enemies start coming out. So far, I've only unlocked like 5 roles, and I think there are 11 of them.
Okay, yeah.
And like right now, everything has been really easy. I just put two of the close range attackers, the woodcutters, two archers, or maybe one archer, and then there's this one class, I don't remember what it's called right now, but it slows down enemies, and it like every 30 seconds or so it casts a spell that will slow down enemies, and I put that one up front, and then I put I think I unlocked a sumo wrestler. And the sumo wrestlers like maintain the aggro and the attention of the enemies.
Okay, they're like the tank.
So all the enemies, yeah, they're like a tank. So all the enemies are like going after the sumo wrestlers, and then I got my damage dealers like going after the enemies. So it seems it's been pretty simple so far.
Okay.
I'm not sure how complicated it's going to get later, and to be honest, I'm not sure if I want to even continue playing it because it feels a little stale right now. Even though I am unlocking new classes, and it seems kind of cool. The main character that you play as, it is a little actiony, in which that you have a main character and you're still like controlling these troops, but you as the main character can run around the world and attack the enemies yourself. But more often than not, I find that I'm like running around trying to manage some other stuff and just let my troops do the attacking. And that part doesn't feel that great to play, so I'm just not sure I want to keep on doing it. I find that I wish there was some sort of speed through button for the nighttime enemy phase, because there is for the day phase. Like you could speed the day up so that you could reach the nighttime faster and let the enemies through. But once it hits nighttime, you lose that speed up thing, and I'm finding myself just waiting around more often than not. Like the enemies die almost the second they leave that gate, and then I'm just waiting like another, I don't know, 15 to 30 seconds for the next round to pop.
Gotcha.
And I'm just like, oh man,
how long
this
does
is
the
kind
night
of
take?
boring. 5 minutes or so.
Okay, that's it. I thought you were going to tell me like 15, 20. Because I know I was watching Jay Wong. He was struggling. He was end game, so I think he was struggling on certain levels. So it does get more difficult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the difficulty ramps up. Yeah, that's cool. I'm like, maybe I don't know, because I'm kind of like you. I don't really like RTS, or I don't like tower defense games really, especially for when you have these longer runs and then you like mess up at the very end of the run, and then you have to like start that level over. And you're like, shit, well, I don't know exactly what went wrong, so I don't know exactly like how to manage it and how to like redo or how to make an adjustment in order to beat this level. Right. But I guess what this game has to offer, it sounds like the challenge is a more challenging levels like as I progress through the game, and I'm not sure if that's exactly what I'm looking for in this game. So I might shelve it after today. Yeah, maybe for Dungeons of Hinterberg or for Zenless Zone Zero. Right. Because it's on Game Pass. If anybody has Game Pass, then, you know, I would say at least check it out. At the very least, I dig the art style. It is seemed pretty colorful. It's pretty full as well. Yeah. There's like a lot of
very Capcom
detail.
Like you can tell this is Capcom.
Yeah, I was getting that vibe too. Like, I didn't realize it was Capcom until I Googled it this morning. I think Capcom's name is on the start of the game when you first started up, but I thought it was just the publisher. I didn't realize they developed it as well. So it definitely has that PS2 feel. It's kind of grotesque, a little horror-ish as well. There's like, oddly enough, a lot of like weird body horror type thing with the way the demons come out and like attack the villagers and spin the villagers. Or there's this one level where a certain demon comes and attacks the princess and kind of eats her head and replaces itself on her head. And because her head has been consumed, you die as well, and you're just the spirit. And you can't interact with the enemies at all. Okay. The only thing you can do is use this resource to try and get that demon off of the princess's head. So that level in particular was probably the most boring to me. But yeah, it was kind of wild just to see this demon come up and like bite her head off. And I'm like, oh shit. Okay. I didn't know this is like the level of gore we were playing with here.
Right. Well, yeah, because the enemies are like Oni, yokai, right? They're like...
Right. Yeah, they're like...
Japanese folklore.
Exactly, okay. The Japanese folklore demons or spirits. Other than Oni and yokai, I'm sure I could find some more if I Googled it, or I would remember it, but I can't name them off the top of my head. But yeah, I feel like the art style of this game's cool.
It is, yeah.
The premise behind it seems cool, and like the idea, I feel like I can get behind, but maybe the execution of the gameplay is a little bit lacking for me, but that doesn't mean it won't be for, or that doesn't mean it will be for you. Like
Right.
you might find this game interesting as well. You being the listener, I already know, Joe, that I know where you stand on this game. Another good Game Pass game to check out. And while we're on the Game Pass train, the last indie game I was going to chat about was Flock. Do you know about this game at all? It's developed by Hollow Pawns Studios. It's published by Annapurna Interactive, which is a publishing company that I really enjoy. They put out a lot of like pretty well-made indie games. This game is pretty simple. There's a certain like monster collecting game that it is reminiscent of, except this one, it's called Flock because I think all of the creatures you're like collecting are birds or variants of birds or some sort of like flying animal. You start the game off on this giant bird who can just fly around everywhere. You don't control the height of the bird. Like you can't go up or down. You could only go left and right because the game will automatically do it for you. So pretty much if there's an obstacle or a hill that you're flying towards, then you just kind of fly over it automatically. You don't have to like raise your bird to fly up or down. And the gameplay loop behind this game is you're trying to identify all the species of birds that are in this area. And as you identify, like once you hit a certain milestone, you then unlock some new tools to identify more birds, or you unlock more of the map in order to identify more birds. So the game is really just about flying around, looking for birds, kind of cataloging them in your, for lack of a better word, your Pokedex. And then you can get them to follow you if you like do this really simple mini game of blowing the certain whistle at, if you're like a certain ways away, when you blow the whistle, then it somehow hits the right frequency in order to make the creatures think that you're friendly, and then they just start following you.
Okay.
I only played for like an hour and a half or so, so I'm not sure what following the creatures that follow you, I don't know what that gives you. I don't know what that does right now. But yeah, it was a really relaxing game. Very chill vibe. And art style, it also is a little bit like a cell shaded art style, pretty cartoony and like kind of bubbly. It's also very vibrant, very colorful. Not sure exactly how else to describe it, other than it doesn't feel like this full 3D render, like sharp graphics. I don't know. It just feels like almost like a kid's like picture book come to life in a video game. It's kind of how I would describe it. But yeah, this game was like really chill to play with my girlfriend. I just turned it on and like let her play it, and I was just kind of watching. And she's not the most like apt with the controller, so I think this game was like the perfect level of complexity for her. And she also loves birds, so this was just kind of a plus. And yeah, I would definitely like continue to play this game. If I wouldn't mind leaving this game on and like watching it while my girlfriend plays. I don't know if I myself would just like pick it up and play it right now, but I really enjoyed at least watching it. It was a relaxing time. And was there any game that you're looking forward to that's coming out
this
soon-ish?
No, not till September, right? We have the Legend of Zelda in September, but once we get closer, we can talk about that. And there was that trailer, that 5-minute trailer that Nintendo put out, I think, earlier this week, right? And it kind of gave us an idea of like Traverse Hyrule, right?
Yeah.
What it looked like. It looked like a mix of Breath of the Wild with the UI, when you get like a new quest. And I was like, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it looks like a good time. I'm grabbing this game when it comes out.
I know, same here. I'm so excited for it. Was it September 26th, I think, is when it comes out. That can't come soon enough. Oh man, I want that game so badly already. I know for me, for this month, Star Wars Outlaws is coming out at the end of the month, which is, from what I've heard from the previews, it's just like a, Ubisoft game set in a Star Wars world, but it plays pretty well. And if you're a fan of Star Wars, then you're probably going to like this. And so I'll probably pick it up. I know it comes out when I'm gone. So I'm like, how am I going to figure? I don't know. I'm going to have to somehow download it on my Steam Deck before I leave, but I don't think it'll unlock in time. So I'll see what's going on there.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then let's see, anything else? I know the 2XKO beta or alpha codes are going out. This starting tomorrow, the 8th, I believe. So, and they're going to be released in waves. So, hey, if I get into it, expect some clips to be sent your way.
Okay, cool. Yeah, please do. Maybe we could get you narrating over them, and I'll edit it all together. But yeah, that's awesome because I know a lot of people are excited for that, yourself included, with the 2XKO. Developed by Riot Games. Feels like everything they put out is super polished and well thought out, well developed. So I'm sure it's going to be great too. That might be it. How you feeling, Joe?
Oh, good. So good. I mean, talked a lot about gaming, right? I don't know if you want to talk about Deadpool because we're already at like what 40 minutes?
Yeah, 40 minutes. Yeah, maybe not. I know we chatted about it before. I guess quick thoughts. Loved Deadpool. I don't want to spoil it because I actually hung out with some people last night who really wanted to see it and haven't seen it yet. Okay. So I'm not going to spoil who's in there, but I had a lot more fun with it than I thought, to be honest. And I have certain characters stuck in my head. We already talked about them, like certain catchphrases, certain memes that have spawned out of the movie. And I am sad that we're probably going to have to wait another like 5 years for another Deadpool movie at this rate. And I really hope we see some of those characters that are in that movie sooner than that.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yeah, I agree with you. It was a good time. I would watch it again, honestly. I know the critics didn't really enjoy it, but it was fun. It was like a fun 2-hour film, and it was just a really, really good time.
Mm-hmm. I know, I agree. I kind of want to see it again. You're going to have to report back next week with the Borderlands review.
Yeah.
Borderlands movie review.
We'll be talking about that because not much press on it, right? I didn't even know it was coming out this weekend, but I was like, hey, you know what? Right. I love Borderlands. Let's go see what this movie's about. The casting choices aren't that great for the characters, but I'll report whenever we meet up again. Yeah.
They got like good actors, but just for a weird role in this movie. So I'm curious to see how that's going to play out. Maybe it'll be another instance in which the audience scores are higher than the critic scores, like in Deadpool. But I guess we'll find out.
We shall see.
Cool. I think that'll do it for this week's episode of Scatterbrained. Thank you all for listening. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, I'm trying to upload some more of the videos on there. I'm actually working on editing that Tales of Kanzera video. I was going to talk to you about that after we were done recording here, but that's been a lot of time right now. It's taken me so much longer than I thought it would. But yeah, appreciate you guys. Take care of yourselves. And we'll see you next week. And shoot us any questions online. All right, guys. Take care. Bye.